Here are the answers for the section 13-5 homework assignment about geometric means. Starting with the oral exercises, we're asked to figure out what number is the geometric mean between 2 and 8. One way to do that is to use the general formula for a geometric sequence, which is a sub n is equal to a times r to the n minus 1. This number here would be a, or a1, but we just call it a, and this number here is a3. So for a sub n, let's substitute 8. For a, substitute 2. R we don't know, and for n, substitute 3. And then solve this for r. So dividing by 2 on both sides, we have 4 is equal to r squared, and taking the square root and only doing the positive square root because the directions say to think of positive answers for r, we're going to get r equals 2. Once we know the common ratio, we can times that to the first number to find that missing number. Just to check that we're right, 4 times 2 does make 8. Now there's another way to get a geometric mean. It might end up being faster. The geometric mean is equal to the square root of the first number times the last number. So this is the square root of 16, which is also equal to 4. Number 3, what's the geometric mean in between 1 and 4? I'm going to use the second technique to find that. Take the square root of 1 times 4. So the square root of 4, which is equal to 2. 2 is the number that goes in there. 1 times 2 makes 2, and 2 times 2 makes 4. Next question, let's use that same technique. The square root of 2 times 32. That makes the square root of 64, which is equal to 8. So that missing number is 8. On page 510, we're asked to find 2 geometric means that are between 1 and 27. You might be able to do it just by guessing if you have some experience with numbers. For instance, maybe you can figure out it's 3 and 9 because r is going to turn out to equal 3. 1 times 3 makes 3, 3 times 3 makes 9, 9 times 3 makes 27. Now maybe you can't figure out easily that the missing numbers were 3 and 9. So then use that first technique where you use the general equation. A sub n equals a times r to the n minus 1. Fill in 27. For a, fill in 1. And for n, fill in 4, because the 27 that we used was the fourth term. So this is 27 equals r to the third. Then solve for r by doing a cube root. The cube root of 27 is 3. Once you know r is 3, then go 1 times 3 makes 3, 3 times 3 makes 9, and so on. Number 3, let's use that technique to figure out those missing geometric means. So fill in negative 224 in place of a sub n. For a, fill in negative 7. For n, fill in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then solve for r. So divide both sides by negative 7. That makes 32 equals r to the 5th power. Now solve for r by doing a 5th root. And so the result is 2. Once you know r is 2, then you can find those missing numbers. Negative 7 times 2 is negative 14. Negative 14 times 2, negative 28. Negative 28 times 2 is negative 56. And negative 56 times 2 is negative 112. For the review assignment, we're going back to page 507. And question 4 on the written says, write the first 4 terms of a sequence given this information. The first term is negative 3, and the value of r is negative 1/3. So negative 3 times negative 1/3 makes 1. 1 times negative 1/3 makes negative 1/3. And that number times negative 1/3 makes positive 1/9. Number 10, find the 9th term of the sequence, which in symbols could be written as t sub 9. To do that, let's use the general formula for this type of sequence. But which type is it? From here to here, you're timesing by 1/3. And from here to here, timesing by 1/3. When you multiply by a common number, that's a geometric sequence. So the general formula is T sub n, or A sub n, equals A times R to the n minus 1. We want to find T sub 9. For A, fill in 39. For R, fill in 1/3, and then 9 minus 1. Take a calculator to figure out that result. 39 times 1/3 raised to the 8th power is 0.0059 with more numbers. So if you round it off, maybe 0.0059. Now page 503. We're asked to find this sum. So substitute 1 for k. You'd have 3 times 1, take away 2, and you get 2. Now let's find the second term by substituting 2 for k. 3 times 2 is 6, take away 1 is 5. Then this is going to keep going for 20 terms. To find the sum, let's use a formula. S sub n equals. Then we need to know the formula for this type of sequence. This is an arithmetic sequence where the value of a is 2 and the difference between the numbers is 3. So the formula is S sub n equals n divided by 2 times 2a plus n minus 1 times d. Now let's make our substitutions to find 20 terms. So for n, fill in 20. For a, fill in 2. For n, fill in 20. And for d, fill in 3. Then find this answer. This is 10 times 4 plus 19 times 3. You can type that in a calculator to get the answer. It makes 610. Using this formula to find the sum is going to be a lot faster than expanding it out all 20 terms and then adding those together by hand. Number 12. We're given some information about an arithmetic sequence, and we're asked to sum up 10 terms. We could use the formula that we just had, but in that formula, you need to know the letter A, the first term, and we don't know the first term. We do know the difference between terms, and we know the last term. With that information, we can find the first term. Here is the general formula for a term for an arithmetic sequence. A sub n equals a plus n minus 1 times d. We know the last term is 7, and we know if we're going to sum up 10 terms, that the last term is a sub 10. So for a sub n, let's fill in 7. We don't know what a is. For n, fill in 10. And for d, you can fill in 1. Now solve this for a. So we have 7 equals a plus 9. Therefore, negative 2 is equal to a. Now that we know a and d, and that we want 10 terms, we can get the sum. So the sum of 10 terms is equal to 10 divided by 2, and then 2 times the value of a plus 10 minus 1 times the value of d. Then figure out this result. This is 5 times negative 4 plus 9. And that makes 25. Number 18. Write out the first 3 terms of this sequence given this information about it. So we know the number of terms is 7, and we know that the last term is 7. If there are 7 terms and the last one is 7, then that is the 7th term. So a sub 7 is equal to 7. We know that the sum of n terms is 25.5. We have a sum formula that involves knowing the letter L. That version of the formula is S sub n equals n divided by 2 times a plus L. For S sub n, we can put 25.5. The letter N is 7. We don't know A, but we do know that L is 7. Now let's solve this for A. You can divide by 7 halves on both sides to remove the 7 halves. So 25.5 divided by 3.5. That makes 51 over 7. And that's equal to A plus 7. Now subtract 7 from both sides to get A alone. That makes 2/7 is equal to A. We now know the first term of our sequence, so we can start writing the answer, 2/7. But we're asked to give the first 3 terms, so we need to know what those 2 numbers are. To do that, we need to know what D is. So let's use the general term formula that has D in it. A sub n equals A plus n minus 1 times D. For A sub n, let's fill in 7. For A, 2/7. For n, 7. And then D becomes the letter that we don't know. Now let's solve this for D. So first thing, subtract 2/7 from both sides. That makes 47/7. And that's equal to 6D. Now divide by 6 on both sides to get D alone. That makes 47 over 42. We can then add that result to our first term to get the second term. That makes 59 over 42. And then to that we can add 47 over 42 to get the third term. And the result is 53 over 21. Here are the first 3 terms of the sequence. Number 28, we have a series of 4 numbers added together and we're asked to write it in sigma notation. So you make the sigma symbol and then on the bottom say n equals 1 and on the top say 4 because there are 4 terms. Now on the side we're going to put the general formula. So this is an arithmetic sequence. A is 12, and then looking term to term, D is -3. So let's use our formula. A sub n equals A plus n minus 1 times D. And then simplify this expression. This is -3n plus 15. And that general equation goes on the side of the sigma notation. Next, page 499. This is where we were finding arithmetic means. So we need to know what the value of D is. Or maybe you can do it mentally and figure out this is 16, 14, 12. And that creates equal differences between all the terms. But let's say you don't notice that. So use the general formula for an arithmetic. A sub n equals A plus n minus 1 times D. For A sub n, fill in 10. For A, fill in 18. Now what's the value of n? Well, when we decided to use 10 for A sub n, that was the 5th term. So n is 5. Subtract 18 from both sides and divide by 4 on both sides. And now we see D is -2. So 18 minus 2 is 16, 16 minus 2 is 14, and so on. Number 10, get the arithmetic mean between 7 and 15. What number is exactly in the middle? Well, maybe just mentally you can see that it's 11, because 7 plus 4 is 11, and 11 plus 4 is 15. Another way you could do the problem is add the end numbers together and divide by 2. And that's also going to make 11. Another way you could do the problem is just like we did number 2, where you use the formula. You can skip number 6 on page 497 because it uses trigonometry, and we skipped trigonometry in our Algebra 2 class. Next, number 10. Find the nth term using this information. And we're told n is 5, so we want to find the 5th term. To do that, let's use our general formula. A sub 5 equals the value of A plus 5 minus 1 times D. And then evaluate this answer. This is negative 2 plus 12, which makes 10. Number 20, let's find the 18th term. We know that the first one is a, and then looking term to term, we can see what d is. You're adding 2x squared each time. So a sub 18 is equal to the first term plus 18 minus 1 times the value of d. And then evaluate this answer. This is negative 3x squared plus, and then 17 times 2 is 34x squared. So this makes 31x squared.